You know, and you can make a little beer. We should probably. I don't know about that. We had. Yeah. What are you doing? What are you on right now? C-section was but I it's so she lost. And not going to get started. So she was like that. Now she's back. I don't know what this is. I'm even asking about the question. That was a science one. Yeah, I was like, we knew this her face is special changed. I was joking also.
Welcome, guys. We got to shift gears here. That 24-hour period is long expired from last week, coming into this week. So we've been grinding on looking at our next opponent, a team that is 7-1 and very well can be ranked. Probably should be ranked in what they've done. Coach Shepard's done a really good job, while he's been at Fresno State and his stops prior to Fresno State. And it's no different this year. They got an offense that has been very productive, scored a lot of points, very efficient in the pass game, and a defense that has created a lot of negative yardage plays. And, has actually gotten a lot of takeaways as well. And that being said, they are one of the top teams in the nation in the turnover margin. So there's plenty of things that we're studying, personnel we're looking at, structures that we're looking at, and all three phases of the game. But it was good for us to have our most complete game and be able to learn from it and still have plenty of room to grow, as we move forward into this next week. Much like we did over the bye week, we took the same approach after our last game and really, be able to hit pause and look at the things. I think it's vitally important that we're able to hit pause after each and every game and really focus on ourselves and give ourselves a little bit of a window there where we can address the things that we did well and figure out how we're going to continue to do those well. Pour some gas on that fire, and then figure out, the things that we need to continue to improve on as we move forward into the next week. And a lot of times, as we've talked about from week to week, the challenges look different. You face different offensive structures. You face different defensive structures. Of course, the personnel is quite different. And so those are the things as we work through the beginning of this week for our next conference game that we've been focusing on.
Questions?
Andy, the defense, obviously, as you said, played its most complete game. What did you see out of this defense on Saturday that you hadn't seen all season?
Definitely our ability to play with better eye control, which led to us playing faster in our initial fits, and then the way we pursued to the ball. I believe that, we played with good fundamentals and techniques at the line of scrimmage, which most of the time got us ahead of the chains. And we were able to get some pressure on the quarterback, and that always helps a tremendous amount. But ultimately, too, one of the biggest things is just simply tackling, whether it be in run plays or certain pass plays, being able to eliminate the yards after contact by being efficient tacklers, which eventually, those yards start to stack up. And so while we did a good job with that stuff, there's still room to grow, and it will call for us to grow as we go down the stretch here with each one of these opponents that, we'll play.
Wyoming's had a lot of success running the ball. They didn't have any on Saturday. What were the key factors there after you've seen the film and whatnot as well? Why were you guys so good against the run?
Well, the coaches did a good job putting a plan together, and the players executed. Ultimately, there's one thing about this game. It's working as a team. It's spending the time, handling the process. Really felt like as a whole, the defense – not only through the bye week, but also through the week of prep for Wyoming. We stacked 2 good weeks there of prep in terms of guys. We're talking about the competitive maturity and how, that's not just when we get on the field, but that's the process of which it takes to be efficient, to be consistent on the field. And as we've talked about, we're not young anymore. We got some young personnel on defense, but we're not young anymore. We played a lot of football, and now it's time to apply that. Continue to grow forward. Again, this week presents a whole, presents a lot more challenges. The offense is quite different that we're going to face this week. And so there's certain things that we did in the game last week that we must do better this week. But ultimately in the run game, the guys did a really good job playing with fundamentals and techniques, and being consistent with the fits. The more consistent you are at the line of scrimmage, then the second level can fit. We had some players that played with, great eye control, were able to see their keys and make some negative yardage plays or some plays at the line of scrimmage, which put us ahead of the chains.
Almost every week, Mad Dog's come off the sideline and converted a big play, whether it's a 3rd down, whether it's a 4th down. What does that say about his mentality? Yeah,
I mean, that's the 2-quarterback system which we've been operating out of. And as we've gone through, it's been awesome to be able to see both these guys play and be productive and score, move the ball down the field. It really comes down to us being more efficient, which in the passing game, we've been more efficient since we've been doing it on 3rd downs. We've been more efficient. Like we've talked about, we've had more offensive production. We've scored more points. So it's it's something that we can continue to build off of because our guys, in particular, the two quarterbacks and their mentality and their preparation and how they go about it. And again, it's the want to, it's the willingness to do whatever it is that we can do to star in a role to help the team win.
I mean, he's one of the limited snap, sure, but he's one of the highest rated passers in the Mountain West Conference when it comes to quarterback positions. What is it about him that he's put himself in the position that he is currently in, where he's probably earned to play the majority of the reps at least last year? So, how's he put himself in this position?
Well, I think a lot of it too comes down to the stuff behind the scenes that people don't see, just in terms of his preparation. He obviously has a high football IQ, right? He has a great feel for the game when he's on the field in terms of his ability to lead in the pre-snap. That comes with preparation and having the confidence. And then obviously once that ball snap, to be able to work through a progression to having the understanding of how to stay on time with his feet within the pockets and the pre-snap reads from the certain coverages that he gets. And so we've got to continue to build off that. I mean, the team we're playing this week, is taking the ball away a lot, and they got one corner with 4 interceptions. And so it's going to present a lot of challenges this week. They've gotten a lot of sacks. So I believe one part of that too is how we've been able to protect the quarterback. And we're going to have a great challenge with that this week, being that they've got a lot of guys on this Fresno defense that have got TFLs or sacks.
I mean, how tough is Maddox too, in terms of his running ability? One of the more impressive plays of the game, right before he gets that touchdown to Prince, he takes off. I mean, he took a pretty good lick, and then he comes back in, hangs in the pocket, and gets the ball up over some guys who are jumping, puts it in. There's only spot Prince can go get that thing. Yeah. His running ability and toughness.
Well, that's the thing too. I mean, even our rushing yards altogether as a team have been up since we've been using both guys. But like we said all along, Mad Dog's capable of running the ball too. Just like TG. Okay, don't forget about that explosive pass play TG hit early on in the game as well. But it's pretty impressive to see Mad Dog run behind his pads as you were talking about. And then it's football, right? You're gonna run the ball. We got to take care of the ball, and we got to take care of ourselves. We'd like to see those guys, take care of their bodies a little bit, in particular the quarterbacks a little. But it's part of the game. You know what? And it's exciting to see when you have quarterbacks that can run the ball and can put the ball down the field. That is very exciting to see, and it's very tough on the defense. And so to be able to put the series together where he did run the ball, got us some yards, and then was able to finish that drive off with a touchdown pass was pretty impressive. Again, it's an awesome opportunity to have both of these guys where you can put TG in the game, and we're in a critical situation and TG pulls the ball and keeps it and gets around the edge, and with his speed there was no one could catch him, and there we are, we score another touchdown. So how we continue to create the rhythm is going to be the biggest part. How we're efficient on third downs is going to be the biggest part, because that allows us to get another set of downs and keep drives moving. And we had just before the half in the last game, it was a 13-play drive or something like that, where we were able to score, going into halftime, be able to have the defense go out and play 2-minute, end of half and be successful, and then come out after the half and score again. I mean, those are the pieces that we want to continue to build on, how we move through a game, how we get to the game plan, get to the calls we have, ready to go. That's something that we want to continue to build on. Now, again, as we talk about all the time, we can't expect it to look exactly the same from week to week, because we're playing different defenses, and having two quarterbacks allows us to do what's necessary.
Using the two quarterbacks, your vision is becoming a little bit clearer with every game. We can kind of watch and see what you're doing with Maddox, obviously dominating the second half. In all seriousness, this question, why is Talon starting?
Because, he's earned the right to start. And again, we saw what we did on the first drive too, correct? Now, we got to take care of the ball. That's the bottom line too. Okay. And it's not, we got to take care of the ball. We've got a huge emphasis on that. And we came out, scored on our very first drive on an explosive pass play, and was able to execute a 2-point conversion. So, there's things that we're able to do really well. And when we're able to see what a particular game plan is, then, for Bush to have the ability to use two quarterbacks, how we see fit has obviously been productive. Our numbers have gone up in, almost every category.
Turnovers, you're -6 for the season. Just how do you look at that in these big games down the stretch here? I mean, winning the turnover margin usually means winning the game. And that's been, what do you see in there? I guess how big is that to get that figured out on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, we just spoke about it, taking care of the ball. You take care of the ball. The guys that are explosive with the ball and take care of the ball are going to have the ball in their hands. We're not going to be perfect, but there needs to be a high level of consistency of how we're carrying the ball and how we're taking care of it. And then, there's certain things on defense that, you really comes down to playing with great eye control, being in the right position, playing with great effort. A lot of times simply tackling well creates takeaways, playing with great leverage and great technique and coverage. And obviously using your eyes to put you in position will allow for us to get more takeaways as well. Creating pressure on the quarterback. In the last game, we created pressure on the quarterback, and we were able to get a takeaway.
Think about some of the best players in program history. It's not the 5-star recruits. It's guys like Avery Williams who walked on, or Kellen Moore, who's a 2-star recruit. When you look at Maddox, he didn't have a ton of offers. Obviously, he's not the biggest guy, but in some ways, is he the kind of player that this program is built on?
Yeah, there's plenty of guys like that have come through here. Shoot, Alex Tubner's another guy that's walked on and is starting. T. Crow is another guy that has walked on and does a whole lot for this team in a lot of different ways, whether it be on offense or special teams. And, again, Mad Dog's a guy that has been able to really grow and thrive here. And as we said all along, if guys deserve a role, we're going to find a role for them. In whatever phase it is of the game, whether it's offense, defense, or special team, we're going to find a role for them. It's a long season, and as many people that we can use and put them in position to help us win, we're going to.
You've seen a lot of the quarterback from Fresno State. What are his best attributes, and why has he been able to do what he's been able to do?
Very efficient and quick with his decision making. The scheme calls for, in a lot of cases for him to be able to get the ball out of his hands very quickly, and he's very good about making decisions, being able to identify and see things in the pre-snap and be quick with his feet and his release. And then, they've got the vertical pass game to go along with it as well, whether it's, off run looks or a drop back pass game. And they've done a really good job, with a new quarterback and really a wide receiver core that has been extremely productive. They got 2 wide receivers that they both lead the team with 41 receptions. So that's a lot of production there.
You've seen a lot of good quarterbacks, some of the best in the nation. How does he stack up against them?
He has some of the best numbers. He's up there with touchdowns thrown this season. His completion percentage, when you're facing a guy that has 68% completion percentage, it stacks up pretty high. They've played some good teams, some good defenses this year. So we have. That's been a huge part of the challenge this year is we've seen some good quarterbacks. We've seen some wide receiver cores and some tight ends that have been shown to be very productive over the course of the year, even after we've played them.
Fresno State obviously played the championship game a couple of times, a lot of big games there, here. What is it just about 2 quality teams, and a lot's usually on the line when you play these guys?
Year in and year out, that's what it is. We, it's been going on for a long time. Both programs have had a lot of success. As we said before, Coach Sheffer's done an unbelievable job, and so in this conference, there's usually a lot on the line when these 2 teams play each other, whether it's, and it's really there's been cases where we played each other twice, for obvious reasons in a given year. And in one particular year, it was back-to-back games.
Offensive line, 7 guys, they all appear to be healthy. That's obviously a luxury, but it's also, you got a lot of decisions to make within that and how you juggle those 7 guys. So how difficult is it to find playing time for offensive linemen if you have 7 healthy guys?
It's not that difficult. It's a lot better than not having 7, right? We've been in that situation where we've been 8, 9 deep into our offensive line. It's, we won't make the negatives or difficulties out of the things that are positives. We'll stay out of that space. And again, we'll find roles for guys to be able to have, even if they're not playing O-line.
You guys have scored at least 30 points now in 6 straight games. You're averaging 30 on the season, which is the most since 20. You're at 427 yards a game, your most since 19. Obviously, you made a decision last year. You wanted to find somebody that mixed and meshed with what you wanted to do. How happy are you with what you are doing right now on offense, even if it might not look, super difficult with one position at times, I guess?
Yeah, there's no question. And that's the thing about it, and that we've decided on, holistically here as a family, is that it doesn't matter what other people want it to look like. It matters what our personnel can do very well. And we've got to find ways to continue to do that and grow it. But, as we've seen, you adapt and you grow throughout the course of the season. Teams that will have a chance to play for a championship are going to adapt and grow throughout the course of the year. They're going to find ways to develop personnel and use personnel differently as you go through the year. But it's been awesome to see here, especially how we've been able, to generate a lot of production on offense. And to be quite honest, we take care of the ball, and we're going to be in really good shape. For all the things that are said or not said, like, Bush has done a good job, plain and simple. We have young players that are stepping up. We have old players that are stepping up. We've played with 8, 9, deep into offensive linemen. We have them all back now. That's not a problem. That's a benefit. We have George back now. That's a benefit, not just from George's production, but him as a leader. And to be able to see and do the things we did last week when we have, the majority of our offensive personnel back, and to be able to play the way we did against that type of defense last week, we've got to be able to build off of that, because the defense we're playing this week is shown to be just as strong, and in even some cases, production-wise and stats-wise, is better.
A lot of former players have told me that games at Fresno State create some of the most hostile environments they've ever been in. Why is that?
It's been that way for a long time. It's one of the places you go when you go on the road. You know what it is. Typically, it's there's going to be a lot of people. The stadium's going to be full, and I think it's a unique setting in the sense too. Where the locker room is, and the way you've got to enter the stadium. And again, it's like we always talk about, though. I mean, it's never about the external. It's always about the internal and how we handle our process and all those things. But it does make for year in and year out when we do play and you go on the road to play this game, there's a challenge out in front of you.
What makes Fresno this year different from last year?
You know what? The difference, obviously, there's a different OC, but Pat was there last year. So there are some similarities. There are some differences within, some of the things that they are doing in the pass game. And there are some things, slight differences in the run game as well. But they're getting a lot of production like they did last year.
Breezy's a guy who kind of epitomizes the next man up mentality for you guys. I mean, he comes in when when George goes down, then George comes back and Ashton gets in.
It's awesome to see him get that touchdown.
What's he, how's he really improved and matured as a college football player throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, we've gone from, early on in the year when George went down, and to be honest with you, almost everybody in that room went down, and Breezy, got put in there. It's a lot, on a freshman running back. You may not think it's that much, but, if we sat the average person, more than the average person down in a room and took them through protections of, blitz packages and stuff like that, they'd be completely lost and have no idea. I'm just being honest. And so when a freshman comes to this level, or even obviously that demand gets higher when you get to the next level, to the NFL, that's a big part of it that people don't think about, because your number one job as a running back, outside of carrying the ball, is to protect the quarterback. And there's a lot to be learned there. So it's been awesome to see how he's progressed and grown. We got to keep growing him. It was good to see him get his opportunity and score a touchdown last week. To see that big old smile on his face, just like a lot of our other younger players, we've got to continue to find ways to help these young men grow and thrive as we go down the stretch here.
How does that quick learning kind of help kind of integrate him into the locker room and kind of, I want to say gain respect, because I'm sure he already had it, but even kind of increase it, I guess.
Yeah, the younger players in this program that gain the respect are going to do it by being mature individuals, by handling themselves right in and around the facility, and by being ready to go when we get on the practice field. That's what's going to gain the respect from the older guys. And usually what happens with that is they're able to have an impact on the field. They're able to start within a role that they have and then grow that role. And the veterans here, the older guys here, has been this way for a long time. We're going to help these guys. It's not just the coaches. You got, guys like George that are helping Breezy. As other running backs that were older when he got here once helped him. And so that is something that has been a part of this place for a long time. It's not just at that position, it's at all positions.
Breezy, a guy like Prince, that are trying to fight for earned playing time. When they get that first touchdown, what does that do to kind of show them that their work's paying off and really help or a guy getting his first pick on defense? I mean, it would seem like the big play like that would really motivate those guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's to be able to pour in the commitment it takes, the sacrifice it takes, the consistency within the hard work that it takes to be able to do something like that, to be rewarded with, a play that, as you're talking about, may help the light come on and really not so just for that moment, but in terms of the understanding of what it takes to be able to create more of those plays, the preparation, the process that goes into it. Again, we've seen more than a few guys this year that maybe weren't here last year or didn't play a lot last year, where that light's starting to come on, and it's pretty cool to see. And this week, starting with tomorrow's practice, we're going to have some fun tomorrow. We're going to compete. It's going to be very, very competitive on the field tomorrow. We're going to bring a lot of energy as a team, as a coaching staff, as players. And go out there and relish the opportunity we get to prep for this next opportunity.
The light coming on. You played, I believe, 25 players on defense last weekend. 24 have eligibility to return next year. All 18 guys made a tackle have eligibility to return next year. What's it like? Have you ever been in a room that is so young, and then after seeing them, their hard work pay off and paying attention to small things, what's it like to come back on Sunday, Monday, see the light come on? Try to replicate it.
Yeah, it's not easy, right? It's not easy. And we say replicate. It's every single week, they're the schemes that we're working to implement and put together may be very similar, but every week is a new week. And when especially as a defense, right? Because you're reacting in a lot of situations to who you're playing. And every week is a new week that you got to bring to life. And what does that involve? What does that entail? How does a young player learn how to do that? When they learn how to do it, they do it, and then they have some success on the field. There's nothing better than that, because ultimately the result of that is I want to do it again and I want to do it better. So that's what the opportunity we have in terms of our prep today, how we watch film, how the players watch film on their own today, how they're going to do that, how they're going to study, how they're going to prepare, how they're going to show up here tomorrow morning. Is some of the coaches were talking to them about yesterday, showing up and being out in front of your coach tomorrow morning. How about that? How about we do that and have fun and show up to meetings with questions and bigger picture questions that we can get to, because there's only so much time you get within these meetings, and to be able to cover things at the pace we need to, it requires the players really to do a good job prepping.
George Lonnie, in terms of what he represents in this program, and I guess more specifically, how did he come through Saturday night? Because you're obviously going to need him in November, and if you ever look at his stat numbers in November, he's a beast in November. So taking it to another level during crunch time, just talk about George and his representation of this team.
Yeah, even beyond just being on the field, as we talked about, whether it's with the young players that are in the running back room or young players in general. We said it the last couple of weeks as George started to work his way back in. George has been a huge part of working behind the scenes with the younger guys in the program, the development squad, and being a part of some of those lifts and things like that. But what the production that George is capable of having on the field. He's been here for a while. Everyone knows what that looks like. As we continue 1 week at a time to go along, it's awesome to be able to have, you know, 2 tailbacks like that, 3 as we, you know, obviously continue to develop Breezy and T. Crow, who always shows up, you know, in certain situations when it's needed. And so I think that the way that room is growing, the overall production of that room, you know, is not only on the coaches, but on a guy like George too, who is a huge leader.
It seems like you guys have a long time about doing your 111, but Andrew Simpson is certainly starting to stand out amongst the 111. What has he been able to do these last few games that he's really becoming a playmaker for you guys?
Yeah, he did a nice job in the run game last week. You know, and it's really the things that he had his best week of practice last week. We'll say that right out the gates, because that's what it always starts with. I know it sounds cliche, but sayings are what they are for a reason, right? Like, you practice well, chances are you're probably going to play really well. And he did a really good job with his run fits, much better job with being disciplined with his keys and his reads, and which allowed him to be able to trigger and hit the line of scrimmage faster in a couple situations where we saw tackles at the line of scrimmage or in the backfield. And then, you know, he was able to be productive in terms of generating pressure on the quarterback as well.
How fun are these trophy games to play? And I mean, obviously, it's something tangible that you can take back with you home to Boise that you're playing for.
Well, I mean, tradition and rivalry that's what makes college football fun. So I know that is a big part of it, but I don't know that we'll talk about that one time this week.
With the game spent still on Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys got play the first time in one game all 4 quarters. You guys are a very good rhythm defense.
Yeah, no question. And so, like we said, very proud of the way the coaches came. And it wasn't just on Saturday, right? It's what Coach D and the rest of the defense staff has been doing the last couple weeks, which obviously very proud of those guys and bringing it together so that the players can truly understand and grow and be better. And so, as we've spoken about already, the cool part about that is we got a lot of football left to play, and we've got the opportunity to continue to grow and get better. But it obviously was visible in the hard work that Coach D has put in with the defensive staff and the game he called on Saturday and the positions he put the defense in.
I think George mentioned somebody talked to the team last week, and I can't remember the acronym that he brought up, but it was something about maybe you're not letting the influence another back player or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Bell or who was it, or maybe that message stood out to you too.
Yeah, we were fortunate. There was a retired Marine lieutenant here in the Treasure Valley, Lieutenant Klebe. He was here visiting a particular church and some friends of the program. We were fortunate enough to have him come speak to our program. And he is a man that endured a lot during Vietnam and was able to survive some pretty bad things that happened, and he delivered a really good message to the team. He's a man also that was involved in football and decided to leave football to go into the military, during Vietnam. And so he had a football background, still does, loves the game, but really spoke on a message that was enduring to everybody, about times you got to be able to forget it and drive on. And that's no different than the next play mentality. And to be honest with you, it's from one week to the next too. Like we said, it's a 24-hour rule, and it's time to get back on it and get going and bring this week to life one day at a time, compete, attack each one of the days. And the reality of it is too, one thing that he talked about is just being our personal best each and every day and being grateful for the opportunities we have.
Anything else?
You doing Halloween tomorrow night? What's your costume? The girls.
I did Halloween last night. And my costume was T. Crow. And No, we did Halloween with all our families here and our team, our family all together last night on our Sunday night dinner. And so it was awesome. We appreciate all the wives and all the kids putting candies and treats together for our team, and being able to sit down and break bread last night in our Sunday night meal. And it was cool to see all the kids dressed up and feel the players as well. So who had the best costume? There was a lot of good costumes. I don't know. You guys will have to ask the players that this week when you get a chance to talk to them. I'll leave it at that. Say it again.
Did you have a pair of jean shorts, or did you have to borrow those from Fresno?
I didn't necessarily have a pair of jeans that I could chop up at the moment yesterday, but I manufactured some. But you know I came with some short shorts.
BJ, congrats on the win. Not talking about the Broncos, Kansas Jayhawks, big time win. But appreciate you guys' time as always, man. It was, obviously huge shout out to Bronco Nation. That the home game atmosphere this year has been awesome. All my family goes to games that you guys do, and our players. And I mean, even sitting in the box, it is just electric. And it's something that, we can be very proud of as a community, as a university. And so that had a huge, huge part in the game as well. And, I was just really proud of our team, but obviously speaking defensively, just proud of our guys to put a full game together. We put halves together. We've put quarters together, but having our guys be able to go out there and do what they did for a full game, just really proud of the guys. The work they put in, the staff, putting them in, going through practice, all the walkthroughs and getting stuff fixed from the bye week to grow into it. And especially playing with a young group, seeing the guys we got, the majority of them are all coming back next year, but at this point they're not young anymore, and seeing them continue to grow to be able to make some of those plays. Obviously still not perfect. Even some things maybe we didn't get hit on in the game was not perfect defensively by any means, that we still got to grow in. And we talk about all the time, just because there was a guy open that maybe didn't get the ball on Saturday afternoon doesn't mean that that's still not an issue we got to fix. So still a lot to clean up, but just proud of our guys playing a complete game, and obviously still a lot to grow in, but proud of where we're heading.
Did you do anything differently in terms of, you guys got a lot more pressure on the quarterback? It seemed like we're in the backfield a lot more. I mean, was that something you did, changing up the calls, or were guys just winning their matchups, or what?
I think a lot of it was just our guys winning their matchup, BJ. I mean, guys being able to consistently win a one-on-one, and even if it didn't completely turn into a sack, just being able to get pressure to the quarterback helps the coverage, helps the back end. Obviously, trying to continue to find ways to switch up the picture for a quarterback is a huge part of my job, to not only move the stress from the coverage, but also making sure the guys that are rushing can consistently win. And that's the big thing we've looked at over the bye week, and just looking at our defense as a whole, is from a freshman to a sophomore to whoever it is, who can consistently do a good job getting to the quarterback. And we got to find ways to do that, and obviously find ways to have switch ups off that as well. So, I hats off to our guys. And like I said, the guys that got opportunities to rush did a good job, and our coverage did a better job holding up with some of the disguises and some of the things to where it gave the front end time to get home. There were some good clips that we were able to show our defense yesterday where there was nowhere to go with the ball. So where did that give time? It gave time for, Ahmed to get home with a sack. So that's how it works together defensively. And obviously, first and foremost, we did a good job stopping the run, because that's, against a team like Wyoming, playing them last year, they had, like we talked about prior, they had 3 runs for 160 yards. So they were explosive in the run game. They wore us down in the run game. And for us to do a better job on Saturday stopping the run, obviously was able to open it up for us in regards to the pass game.
Interesting how fast is he playing on Saturday, and what's it like to have a guy now that's really starting to make some game change with that plays for you guys?
Yeah, no, really proud of Drew, man. You talk about a kid that we asked to do a lot. And I tell him that, like, going into last week, I mean, if you look at the positions he's played going into, now week 9, he's played all over the field in regards to the box. What we asked him to do, put a lot of stress on him. He's a very smart, savvy football player. And coming into this year, like we talked about, had started a couple games last year when Zeke Noah got hurt, but really, asked to step up in a major way, got banged up a little bit in the ear, and being able to really come into his own. And I give a lot of hats off to DJ, in regards to kind of showing that group of linebackers, Marco, Andrew, Jake Rip, Chase, just name a few of, what it takes to prep to play this game. And I use that as an example for Andrew. Andrew's always been a very talented football player, very athletic, can rush, can blitz, can cover, very savvy, but he's really grown in his time here, what it takes to play linebacker here. Because like I said, we put a lot on him. And so seeing him, the week he had of practice last week, was his best week he's had since he's been here. And I'll never forget, we leave our pregame walkthrough and we're getting ready to go to our pregame meal, and he's sweating because of the type of walkthrough he had. I'm talking, we play a game in 3.5 hours, whatever it is. And I looked at him and said, "You're about to ball out tonight." And he's like, "I know."
Talk a little bit about the run game. Until that final drive, I think you guys held them to just single yards rushing. Just to be able to take a team out of what they want to do like that, how does that help for the confidence of this defense?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's the number one thing we need to do on defense will be no different this week going to Fresno. Is if you can't stop the run, you can't play defense. And so taking that away from an offense that has been able to do it consistently, and more importantly, do it consistently throughout the game and not just in moments, was a huge deal in the game. And then being able to obviously our offense doing a good job being able to continue to score touchdowns, then obviously takes them away from them being able to establish a run game. So proud of our guys, proud of our front, and honestly proud of the secondary too, with a lot of the fits that they have with some of those sets. Because against a team like Wyoming, when they get in these big sets, it's not just the D linemen making plays. They're continuing to bring bodies in the core, which puts the corners, the safeties in the run fit, and they did a good job in the game.
Especially started with, we saw the announcement of 3 edge players out. And then here comes Jaden Virgin. Maybe his stats weren't that, spectacular, but I would imagine what you guys saw in film, you were really happy with the development of Jaden Virgin.
I'm going to tell you this right now. Very, very proud of Jaden Virgin in the game. He was one of the best players in the game. And for a redshirt freshman to say that, especially at that position, you guys know how much we put on those edge guys. Very, very proud of Jaden and how he played in that game. And his future is very bright here. And like I said, after the game, that was one of the guys, Andrew Simpson, one of them, Jaden Virgin, another, that I was extremely proud of, just in regards to, once again, not just because it was a sack or a TFL, but how he was able to play in that game to do his job consistently with what we put on him. Very proud of him and his development. And just where he's going to continue to grow throughout the season is going to be a huge deal, especially with Dimitri out and some of these guys being up. I mean, he's going to continue to need to do that and even grow in that.
What about his skill set makes him fit so well at that edge position?
He's a very athletic young man. So he came here that way, right? He was a little light in regards to, maybe 215, 220. His body's completely changed since he's been here. And now he not only can go win on an edge, win in pass rush game, but we put him in coverage a lot. We put him in different alignments. And so his football IQ now has gone through the roof. And Coach Frazier, Coach Av, those guys done a great job in regards to teaching him once again how to study the game. There's a lot more to that position than just playing a 5 technique. There's a lot that we put into that in regards to the pressures, the drops. And so that has been really where he's taken a big step, not only this season, but even as he's grown through this season. Because obviously his role from game 1 to where we are now is drastically different. His rep count from game 1 to where it is now is not even close to the same. And he's continued to grow even early on when he didn't play a lot. A couple snaps here and there, and now he's playing a ton. He's grown a ton through that.
Spencer, I mean, is this maybe like a prove it week coming off the best performance of the season against Wyoming? Now you got Fresno, like prove it that this is the defense that we're going to see moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's going to be week in and week out. It's one of those, especially where we're at as a team, every week we got to go 1-0. And that's the reality of where we're at. That's the reality of this conference. And that's the reality of this conference every year. Even last year, it was no different. Every year, you gotta go 1-0 every week. You can't That's the only way to continue to give yourself a shot to play in that championship game. So I think the biggest thing for our defense is we have to continue to prove it, not only in the game, but how we prep today on a Monday, how we practice tomorrow. Because, like I said, I'm proud of how our guys were able to play a complete game on Saturday, because we've shown glimpses of what we can be in quarters and halves. And so now it's, can we consistently do that? It's not going to be perfect. That's the way it is. Now, we got to make sure we eliminate the explosive plays and find ways like we did on Saturday, because that's one of the biggest parts on Saturday is we gave up one explosive play. If you can do that consistently on defense, you're going to always give yourself a shot to play very well on defense and give your offense good field position to be able to go score points. So, yes, and it's going to be the same week in and week out to where we got a group of guys, and I say this all the time, because they've been working their tail off, even when the results are not even close to the standard we want to be here defensively. And the thought of us being young and playing with majority underclassmen, at this point, it doesn't matter, right? The product is what the product is. And so the standard is playing good defense, winning games, and we need to. Our guys are very aware of that. Our staff is very aware of that. And we also are very aware of the task we have at hand in a hostile environment Saturday night. And obviously the offense we're playing is obviously one of the best in our conference, if not one of the best on the West Coast. And so we've got a huge challenge on our hands, and we're excited.
What kind of challenge does Mikey Keene bring for you guys, and just their pass game in general? How does that rank against some of the teams you faced this season?
Yeah, we've obviously played a lot of elite passing attacks. I think, we rank them right up there at the top. And playing that style of offense for year in and year out, they do a great job creating matchup issues, formation issues, a lot of different pre-snap movers to where you can't, get pressed and get to different alignments because of where they put these receivers. And just like a lot of these offenses we play that do have a really good passing attack, they do a great job in the run game too, in regards to switching up some of the gap schemes, where they're trying to attack you. So just like anything, we got to do a great job stopping the run. But I think, Mikey does a great job in regards to the pass game. He's really quick in the pocket, not an overly big guy, similar to Hainer from last year, but really tough to get down, really tough to get shots on, and does a great job moving his feet in the pocket and making the throws. And he's got a receiver group that they've done a good job reloading that receiving core. And they've been extremely explosive as well.
This rivalry goes back 20 plus years, obviously, whatever. But I mean, even since you've been here, championship game a couple of times, some other big games at their place, here. What just is your thoughts on whenever you play, there's always a lot on the line against them?
No doubt. I mean, BJ, to your point, every time we play these guys, there's so much on the line. If not in a in-season game to a championship game. Since I've been here, this will be the 9th time I've played them, because there's been a lot of times we played them twice in games or twice in years. And so, there's a lot of respect between each other, but it is a big rivalry for us in regards to playing Fresno State. There's a lot of respect. We also know what they're about. We know they're going to be ready for us. We're going to be ready for them. And these are the games you look forward to going into a season, especially being able to play down there Saturday night with everything on the line. Just excited for the matchup. And obviously we know the task at hand, and we got to go 1-0 every week. And they're going to create a lot of different issues for us. They've done a great job. I'm honestly shocked they're not ranked in the top 25. I'm not privy to that vote, but you talk about a team that's 7-1 that is, beat 2 Power 5 teams. I think they should be in the top 25, and they deserve that. And so we know the task at hand is for us, one of the top passing offenses in the country, and they do a good job complementing the run game. So hats off to the staff. They do a great job every year. The years we've played them twice, the year we've only played them one time, they do a great job every year. So we know our work's cut out for us, and we'll be working our tail off. I know our guys are excited for this opportunity, but they obviously know the task at hand as well.
Talk a lot about the youth on your defense, but the 25 guys you played on Saturday, all of them are eligible to come back next year. So what is it like to be in a room right now where you have such young guys learning and growing, and then to come back on Monday and see they're right that's what can happen, might come on?
100%. No, it's 100% that, Jay, and it's one of those things for this group. The reality of college football is it's results driven in regards to what are we doing right now. We are judged on what happens 12 nights a year, and that is the reality across the nation. That's college football, which is why you love it, why every game there's so much on the line, so much goes into every single game. And so with a young group, which to your point, the guys that took snaps on Saturday, all of them are coming back next year. That's very exciting for the future. It's exciting to see these guys continue to grow and develop and who we will continue to be in the future. But at the end of the day, it's all about who we are right now. And seeing our guys grow and be able to put the game they did together on Saturday was awesome. Now it's to the point we're talking about, can we be consistent enough to do that again this weekend? Can we be consistent enough to do that quarter by quarter? And when something doesn't go our way, because it's going to happen in games, especially against a team like Fresno State, can we respond and do a good job responding from those mistakes and not let them continue to turn into a bad quarter or a bad half? And those are some of the main things that we're going to continue to work to fix.
Coach, plenty of games at Fresno State. Former players tell me that's one of the most hostile environments they ever play in. Why is that?
I mean, that fan base does a great job, not only from the noise to the whole atmosphere. I mean, it's one of those places, I would assume, very similar to coming to play at Boise State when you come to play in the blue. It is a strategic advantage for them when you go to play at Fresno State. It just always has been, from their fan base to how they handle everything. I mean, it's a hostile environment. When you walk from the locker room down to the field, that those fans are going to make you feel like you don't belong there, and which is the way you wouldn't have it any other way. You know, that's college football at its finest, and that's the way it should be when you're going to an opponent's house. And so respect what they do, and so we know that that's what it's going to be, and we're excited for the challenge.
Halloween here last night, we were told. Andy dressed as T. Crow.
Oh, yeah.
What are your thoughts on the whole? How did he look? How did he pull it off?
He absolutely pulled it off. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a picture floating around at some point, but the mullet he got was spot on. So you throw a mullet and some cowboy boots on, it's T. Crow right from Jump Street. You don't even got to think twice about it. So it was awesome. I mean, just those moments, especially, you know, for coaches, this is, you know, week 10 of the season. I know even for me, being able to bring my daughters and my wife to have dinner with the boys, you know, being able to see them, my 2.5-year-old dressed up as Mulan, and our 1.5-year-old dressed up as Mushu, the little dragon from it. So it's just fun to get time with the fam, and not only be around them, but for our players to be around our families too. And I know the rest of the staff brought their kids too. So it's awesome to be able to break bread and have some time together, especially, you know, at this point in the season going forward. So it was awesome.
Player costumes.
Oh man, there wasn't a ton of player costumes. They might have hit some of those from us, but there's we had a couple guys. We had what did we have? I think we had a Men in Black. We had a Superman. I don't think there's anything too off the wall. I'm sure there was probably a Coach D walking around that I just completely blanked on. They always try to find ways to mess with me, but yeah, there wasn't anything too off the wall. But PG for us.
Questions for
Bush, whenever I ask former players about playing at Fresno State, they say it's one of the most hostile environments they've ever played in. Do you have any memories of going into that stadium?
Yeah, I think I would agree. I mean, it's an awesome atmosphere. You know, I think certainly in this conference, even when we were back in the Western Athletic Conference, I remember those days of it's everything you want it to be. You know, you sign to Boise State, you want to play in those big time environments. Obviously, there's nobody better than our fans. You've seen it this year, the advantage that we have when we play at home, but it's a tremendous experience, and we're excited for it.
Everybody talks about the walk to the field. You got to go through the fans. I mean, do you remember catching some hate, some shade during that walk?
Yeah, I think so. I think everywhere you go, they kind of say, "Hey, well, you know, be smart here and make sure you got guys with you." And you're like, "Yeah, okay." But this one is for real, for real. So I just remember those days of going down that hill, never really knowing who's a security guard, who's kind of not, and again, it all leads to just a great atmosphere.
What's this what's this rivalry mean to you guys? I mean, obviously, you guys are always, fighting for the Mountain West title, or back in the day, the Western Athletic Conference title. What's this rivalry meant to you?
Yeah, I think it means a lot. I think you look at the history of both these teams and the success they've had in a lot of ways for putting this conference on the map. I think it's, as you know, the teams that you're probably the most similar to are the ones you maybe butt heads the most with, but just a tremendous amount of respect for this staff. I was fortunate enough to work with Jeff Tedford in 2016. Has meant a lot to me. Jethro Franklin's a guy I worked with at Missouri. I've known Pat McCann for a long time. So a lot of respect for this staff, know how good a job they've done, and we're excited for the opportunity.
Are you what Maddox Madison is doing right now? What stands out to him, Monday through Friday that puts himself in the position to go do what he does on Saturday?
Yeah, I think you guys asked it last week. You talk about that preparation, and some guys when they come into college, maybe you have to catch them up to speed of what it needs to look like, and then there's other guys just understand it. And I think a lot of times it comes from that situation when your dad's a coach, which his dad is, and he knows what that looks like from how to prepare. How to do enough, get the information, but not make it too much, if you will. And he's done a tremendous job in preparing himself.
The Bulls or flying or whatever, you learn a lot about your players. So what have you learned about Maddox? And I think for me, like one of the most impressive plays was right before he threw the touchdown. He took off and he took a really big lick. And he kind of comes back and hangs in the pocket and delivers that ball where it needs to be. So what have you kind of learned about Maddox and the key to the battle that's allowing you to find a rhythm?
I think just how resilient he is. Here's a guy that you just got to know during the week probably takes about 25% of the practice reps, and so we've kind of all been there, when you're maybe in that role. So I just can't speak to how proud I am of him. Again, he's not taking every rep, at practice, and for him to go in there and play the way he does and be as efficient as he does speaks volumes about his game.
In terms of the two quarterbacks, I think we started to see your vision on Saturday night. It looked way more successful than it had been. Is that kind of how you envision this team looking?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think I felt pretty good about it versus San Jose State, and so I just think, again, it just comes back to the execution piece. I think, when we've completely been in on the two quarterback thing, I think starting San Jose State, I thought it went pretty well. We thought it went good against Wyoming. Could have played better versus Colorado State. And I think, again, it's the balance. Okay, the rhythm thing. Is it the rhythm thing? Is it the execution piece? Certainly the rhythm of playing two guys isn't going to be as good as one guy, but there's been a lot of statistics as well that we've improved in. So it's that give or take of what are you willing to sacrifice?
In terms of Maddox, in the second half, he's obviously getting a majority of the reps. What is it about Maddox in the second half that you trust more over Taylor?
I don't think there's any, one thing or another. I think the reality of the situation is we go into the games in our minds saying, yeah, it could go either way. And I think both those guys understand that. This is big time football, and they know that. And somebody's going to have the hot hand. Somebody's going to take care of the football. The thing I'm so proud about with each guy is we've needed each guy in those situations, maybe when more of the reps have gone to the other guy to come step in and make plays. And I think that's the thing about both these quarterbacks from an attitude standpoint. That's allowed them to truly be leaders on this team is even when things maybe not going exactly how they want them to, TG's come in when we really needed them to go and make critical plays in the red zone. Maddox came in against Memphis and played really well when he hadn't been out there for a while. So those are just two guys that I think are willing to do whatever it takes for this football team, and I really commend them for that.
The possibility of Maddox starting?
I think we're certainly competing, every day at practice. And again, I just think, I think the beautiful thing about both these guys, and I know I've mentioned this, is they're not one dimensional. I think TG's 9 ball that he threw on the left side there was probably as good a ball as I've seen in a long time. I don't know if Eric even got his second hand up to make that play, so you just look at the things that he can do. Again, we just want to settle him in, get him playing as confident as he can be. Maddox has obviously done some good things, but I do think both of those guys complement each other very well.
And it's 3 games in a row where I think Maddox ended up with more snaps, but you kind of alluded to it. How much of that was the fumble that Taylor had to kind of change things there?
Yeah, I think, look, we've certainly had our issues with turnovers, right, in the last 3 or 4 games. And I think as a play caller, you got to do a great job in not being extremely emotional. You know, I think when we scored on that first drive, we take it all the way down to, I think, the 15-yard line. We're the only ones stopping ourselves, and we lose that ball. There was probably a little bit of an emotional response to that. And but with that being said, again, I really felt like when Maddox got in there, you guys know what it is. I think it was like 12 of 15 throwing at Wise. One of them was the incompletion to Eric on 3rd down. One was a poor call on my part. That was a throwaway. So when you start looking at those numbers, I thought he did a nice job of deserving to stay in there.
Talked to Andy about Breezy's growth a little bit, and he was mentioning he does little things like he's learning more about quarterback protection. What have you seen from him, and just how has he grown his game since since the season started? Really,
yeah, I always think with a young guy, it just comes back to who he is as a person. And here's a guy that is an extremely talented high school prospect. He humbles himself when he gets to college, and he knows he's got guys like George and Ash in the room. And I'll be honest with you, Tyler Crow's a guy that's been here for a long time and has done a tremendous job in the preparation process. So I go back to those things saying when you come in as a freshman with an open heart and open ears, and you're willing to take in all that coaching, whether it's from Jimmy Montgomery or whether it's from the guys in your room, it leads to this kind of maturity.
Bush, when you self-count yourself, everything you've had to work with this year, the quarterbacks, the injuries, what type of job do you think you're doing with this offense?
We're just that's always a hard one. You guys are always asking me, how's this player doing? How's that player doing? We're just trying to stay focused. I'm not trying to give you a cliche line. I think it's been an up and down with what you said, right? We haven't necessarily had a game where both the backs have not necessarily been rolling. Certainly the quarterback thing has been unique. I think that's one thing that we love about this profession is no year, no week, no game is ever the same. And so I am proud of my offensive staff. I think there's been a lot of different movement. There's going to be a lot of different movement this week as well. And that's what you got to do to do whatever you can to go win football games.
Whether it's 3rd down or 4th down, Maddox has converted a lot of big plays for you guys this year. Especially for a guy that's not playing every down. What does it take for a guy to come off the sideline and be successful in a big spot like that?
I think it takes a lot. I'm not sure how many quarterbacks have been in that situation. Certainly, again, I've alluded to the practice reps, right? Like there's times where he's out there maybe being asked to do some things where he didn't get that exact look. But again, he prepares the way he needs to prepare. This is not just something that's week 7 and now he's in that position. Ever since I've been here, he's prepared like a starter, and it's important to him. And I think it's a testament to his hard work.
I assume you didn't plan for 23 touches for George in that game, but to have a guy like that ready, I know the timing's worked out perfect for you guys, but to have him back and be able to step in and do that, and who knows, moving forward what Ashton's status is, but just to have a guy like that, a 2-time 1,000-yard rusher that you guys can lean to, I assume there's not a lot of teams that have that kind of luxury.
Yeah, and I think you guys know George. He doesn't say a whole lot, but there's very few players that have come through here that are as impressive as him. And I just, in my mind, I think about, okay, you have that injury, you miss about 5 weeks. Like he certainly wasn't at home playing video games during those 5 weeks, even though he knew it was going to be a little bit of a recovery process. So did he surprise me? He did. I think, again, for him to go out there and we had a plan in place to, if you will, get him back in the mix, get him a couple touches to feel what it felt like again. But for him to go out there and make the plays he did, that's just it speaks to a guy that handles himself like a pro.
Got to answer that, but I talked to him on the blue before the season started, asking who the guy on offense is, and it's the epitome of a Bronco. And you said it was George Lonnie. Why is that? And at what point in time did you guys realize you were going to have to go with him on Saturday and pitch down was up?
Early. I think there were some things maybe bugging Ash even leading up to that game, and I just felt probably it was about that first drive where him and I got on the phone, and he was like, hey, I'm not feeling like my normal self. To the question of George and what epitomizes it, I just think his you know, he's one of those guys whose actions have just always spoken so loud. You know, he doesn't say a whole lot, but it's a professional approach. It's that blue collar mentality. I think certainly when he even just got back to practicing with the offense, it's like everybody else took their level of play up. You know, I think it's a guy that understands the importance of practice execution equals game day reality. He understands taking care of the football. And so I just, you know, that's one of those guys you'll take year in and year out every day of the week. So.
Also got some carries over last week. Was that a product of Ashton going out, or is he a guy that you guys are trying to figure out how to get the ball in his hands more?
Yeah, I think he is. You know, I think he's certainly, from an explosive standpoint, can make guys miss, can be a guy that can play the whole width of the field, if you will. And so we're excited about his role continuing to build. He's done a great job working towards that, and we're going to continue to look for opportunities for him.
Sometimes you guys have players that are so consistent, they become great, and their consistency makes us great to ask you about it. Counts it once again, $160 through the air, 7 catches. What is it like having a receiver at your disposal that after 5 catches, the game is actually 20 yards to catch? I mean, that is pretty rare in college football. Now, somebody like that.
Yeah, Eric's done a great job, you know, and it's a little bit of that mixture of, and you guys know it. I mean, you see it week in and week out, right? You can mix the run game and get people to come down in the box and play the run. And then you've got the opportunities where if they're in man situations, they certainly got to account for Eric on the edge. And he's done a tremendous job of not just creating separation, but making tough plays with a guy in his face. And just super proud of Eric. You know, Eric is maybe not when he got to college, he wasn't like maybe a guy like Maddox or maybe a guy like George. You know, he certainly took some time, you know what I mean, to learn the ropes, if you will. But his focus has been tremendous. The conversations with him during games have just been really, really impressive. So
Along those same lines, Prince gets his first touchdown. I know he's been in and out of the lineup some this year, but what did you see out of him in the past week that made you comfortable putting him out there?
Yeah, I think Prince deserves to be out there. And again, you know, he's just got to continue to, if you will, a lot of times when you're playing a freshman, you want them to be a junior, you know, and the talent level is certainly there. As we know in this conference, it's going to take every single rep playing with that kind of physicality. And a lot of times it just takes making a play like that to you know, make you come to light and go, hey, I got this, you know. And so I was fired up. My eyes were on the right side. I had thought Eric had won on the route. I thought Maddox should have gone there. Maddox came backside and I saw the catch, and just can't tell you how excited I was that it was Prince, because that's a big one for a young guy that it'll make a huge difference for.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys, man.